Everybody, how's it going? Well, welcome back. Hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. I know mine wasn't too bad, actually. Just hung out with my buddy and his son and his family, and his mom made a wonderful meal, and we all just kind of hung out and took it easy, and it was very nice. It was a perfect Thanksgiving, in my opinion. It was very nice. Now, since then, of course, we all know that it's now December. That's right, it's December now. So the holiday season is in full tilt, full swing, whatever you want to say. And, well, we will be doing, of course, a holiday content sooner than later, but not too soon. We are going to be doing a few extra videos, I guess, this week, because next Saturday, this coming Saturday rather, it's December 7th, and we all know what day that is. At least we should. Maybe you're not thinking of it, but maybe once you hear December 7th, maybe that'll jog your memory. Anyways, I always do some content related to the attack on Pearl Harbor and the history therein, so we'll be doing that. But there's also a big car show at Moon Eyes, well, not at, but put on by Moon Eyes Speed Equipment at the Speedway in Irwindale. And I might be doing content there and kind of filming the club, doing our club things, and you know, it might be good. I might actually do some filming there and make a video about the Moon Eyes holiday party. So that might be cool, because technically they're saying it will be the last one ever, but there's petitions being passed around to be signed to save the Speedway.
Save the clock tower.
And that would be good if they did. I have a lot of opinions about the Speedway, and they're positive, of course, and they're valid, that a lot of the complainers don't understand. Yeah, it's local politics, if you will. There's people that live here in my town. I love them. They're great. I'm sure they're wonderful people. But they complain about the noise that they hear from the Speedway. And now the Speedway is, I'd say, 10 to 15 minutes away from where I'm at in town. But you can still hear the drag races and all that stuff when they have races. And then there's also fireworks. But it's all done by 10 o'clock. It doesn't go on very late. But of course, there will be those who feel very strongly that it should not happen at all. Now, to that camp I say, be grateful it's over by 10, and be grateful those people are not racing on the streets and doing burnouts on the streets, because that is a very strong possibility if that Speedway is closed, because you are allowed to do those types of reckless driving things at the Speedway. They have provisions for that. Of course, you have to pay, but you can do it legally. But yeah, street takeovers and burnouts and stuff like that will definitely increase if the Speedway goes away. So keep it, and be grateful it's not worse. That's what I say to the naysayers. Anyways, we have a box. I haven't done a unboxing video quite some time, but a subscriber, friend, and Lanternier, Jerry Lewis, decided to send me something. And, you know, so I thought, hey, you know what? That's very cool, and I appreciate him for that. He's a cool guy, and I enjoy our conversations. And he's the one that gave me that beautiful Bulldog, streamlined Bulldog K Woody that I've been enjoying on the channel occasionally here. So he decided to send me something else, and I'm just like, oh, well, I mean, no obligations, but he's a good guy, and I'm looking forward to this piece. But we'll get into it here. Get into it. Without further ado, this will be a good box to keep for future things here. Because every time I've sold a lantern and I want to, ship it, I'm always combing the alleyways and recycle bins for a good box, and sometimes it's very challenging. Well. Oh, nice. We got some good paper here. This is really good packing stuff. I like this almost better than bubble wrap because it's biodegradable and it's old school. People used to wrap stuff in paper before bubble wrap existed. I'm not like, I'm not like some fanatic or anything, but I'm old school. You know me. Come on. I'm old school. Oh, yeah, that's right. Cool. Let's see here. He made these little tins for matches. And I think it's kind of like a little mint tin, but he, fits matches, and then there's little strikers on that he's fastened on there. So that's pretty cool. Thank you. That's perfect for camping. Use a little match safe, Put all my strike anywheres in there. Yeah. Well, okay. Here's the main event. Thank you for that, of course, Jerry. Oh. Okay. And we got to get through the layer of bubble wrap, because there is bubble wrap. We'll just cut the tape here and here, and we'll try and salvage the bubble wrap for future things. All right, cool. We're getting it down. Any guesses? Yeah, it's a lantern. It's a lantern. There we go. Now, one last piece of tape to cut here. Ta-da! Ta-da! Sorry. Sounds like an old film strip, right? With the tracking all, Anyways, I'll shut up now. Blue Dietz Jr. Now, probably looking at this thing saying, Rob, that's not a rare lantern. I'm kind of surprised at you, Rob. A Dietz Jr.? Well, you have a first generation one. Yeah, you do. And you've had other ones with the Sanskrit and stuff. What's special about this one? Why is this something that you're actually pretty happy about? Well, it's made in Hong Kong. A lot of people have opinions about Hong Kong-made Dietz lanterns, but this one's from the 70s. 70s or early 80s. But anyway, it's because of this. Blue light special. Yeah, it's a Kmart one. I know. Look at that. So, when I was a kid, there was a Kmart that was right over on Mountain Avenue and Huntington Drive. That's right. And so Kmart was definitely a very well-known store. Let me put this up here so you can see it better. There you go. Well, let me figure this out. We'll just put it on this box. Move the Rayo here and put it on the box there. Perfect. Now you can see it all the way. Yes. Anyway, so this little guy is just really special because when I was a little kid, when I started getting into, or when I first got the lantern bug, when I decided I wanted an old tubular lantern, I wanted a blue one. Why? Well, my very first experience with lanterns were blue ones. And, watching, of course, the TV shows of the 80s, such as Little House on the Prairie and all those, and also going to a lot of theme parks. These blue lanterns were kind of everywhere, especially Knott's Berry Farm, among other varieties, and Disneyland. But some places sold these, besides Kmart. These were in the camping section, of course, at Kmart. And they came in red or blue. I've always liked the blue one, But when I wanted a lantern, I wanted one of these. And I remember being at Griffith Park, and we were there. It was an overcast day, and I think we were with the I think it was just my brother and I, my mom. I don't know if the Albies were with us or... drawing a blank. I think there was some friends with us. I don't think it was Jeff and Michael Albee. Might have been the Davis kids. Maybe the Davis kids. But anyway, regardless. There was a gift shop, kiosk type of thing. It was like an open air kiosk that was shaped like a train station, but it was just, you know, some lady could sit there and sell railroad caps and wooden train whistles and also Dietz Juniors. Yeah, you could buy a kerosene lantern in Griffith Park back in those days, in the 1970s and 80s. And this would have been 1986 or 7, right around there. And I just saw that. I'm like, oh, look at that. I want, you know. It's like, oh, mommy, I want that. But also I remember seeing these in a local store in Arcadia. And that would have been the Carob Tree. The Carob Tree was a health food store. And they had a very rustic type of country vibe going on in there. So it was all wood paneling. And they had a diorama type of setup above the shelving. They had a ledge. And then they put all their, you know, farm detritus up there. Like, you know, tack for horses. And a couple of bales of hay. And old saws. And of course, a couple old lanterns, and one of which was a blue Dietz, like that. So being a kid, I always kind of like looked at that as like, that's a cool piece. That's a neat old lantern, and the color's neat too. So I don't know, it's a nice shade of blue. It kind of is. I won't lie, I like it. But this one definitely goes back to those years in the 1980s. Yes. And so this is kind of special because I got something that I've wanted since I was very little, and when I was 7, 8 years old, and it goes back to my very first experiences of witnessing a tubular kerosene lantern, and that's kind of what kick-started the whole interest in the whole draw. And now I got it. I'm 46 now, no longer 8, no longer 6 or 7 years old. That was 40 years ago, guys. That was 40 years ago. And it took me 40 years practically to get this. And, you know, I was having a conversation with Jerry, and he was saying he was going through some stuff, and he saw one of these things in his shed. And he told me about it. I'm like, oh, hey, you know, don't get rid of that. I might want it. So we talked about it. He's like, oh, heck, I'll just send it to you. I'm like, really? Yeah, I'll just send it to you. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I mean, they're not really worth much. $20 around there. You know, and this one has an early globe. It's probably the original that came with is the acid-etched Dietz globe. Now, I do have another junior globe that's roughly the same period. It is embossed. It's embossed, and I have it in another Dietz junior lantern that's hanging up there. So, anyways, I might swap the globes out, but that's probably the original one that came in it from Kmart. But anyway, I have seen Kmart ones with the embossed globe. They might date a little earlier by a year or two. Anyway, not important, but this thing is kind of grimy. But the cap is free. You know. And looks good inside. I'm sure it holds oil. Yeah. Let's remove this little guy. Now I do have another Dietz Junior that's about the same generation. That it's red. And I shared it with you on the channel when I was sharing my first generation Dietz Junior. So I made a comparison, you know. So yeah, but yeah, we got a wick. Advance is just right, nice and trim. I think Jerry did that for me. Very nice, thank you, Jerry. But yeah, it's all there. Nice tin inside. You know, it looks fairly clean. It's not too bad, but you know, it's not brand new. It's fine. It's not brand new. I don't want it brand new. I wanted something that had a little distress to it. So it reminded me of the ones that were outside that were being used in Yosemite. Now my memory is quite good, quite sharp. And, I would say that the lanterns that I do remember, I know that was 40 years ago when I was only a child, but I do remember the lanterns being squat globe. Yeah, they were squat globe like Little Wizards or D-Light. And they might have even been air pilots, for all I remember. For what it's worth, I'm willing to concede to my memory not being as acute as I hope it is. I know I do have a pretty good memory when it comes to stuff from my childhood. Of course, some things fade. Some things are remembered differently as we get older. But I would imagine there was a smattering because they had a lot of them. And it was at the amphitheater just outside of Wawona campground. And they had blue Dietz cold blasts lining the ends of each row at this amphitheater, and that's what I remember. And the Rangers were lighting those, and they also had a fire pit in the center that they had going. They had a campfire, not necessarily a big bonfire, but they had a good fire going. And then they were lighting these blue cold blast Dietz lanterns, and I would believe they had a smattering of D-Light, Little Wizards, and number 8 air pilots that were all from the 50s. But they didn't have these per se, but because they weren't big enough, they wanted to put out more light. I think they probably had. I would say that they had number 2 cold blast size lanterns out there, so mostly probably D-Lights and number 8 air pilots. But anyway, they were blue and they were streamlined. That's what I recall. But, I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what they were called. I just remember the shape and the color. And my memory is pretty good about that. But I remember seeing one of these at that health food store as a decoration. And also seeing them at outside of Travel Town. Well, they were selling them at Travel Town as well as the Griffith Park and Southern train rides near the other entrance, the northeast entrance of the park, which is off of Los Feliz and Riverside Drive. And so I seen them, and it's funny because as recent as, I want to say 2011 or 12, I went to Heritage Park, and they have an old train station there that was moved from another location. I forget where it was from, but it was in several old movies. And they have it preserved there at Heritage Park, which is right off the 110 freeway. And they have a gift shop open in there. And I was walking around in there, and sure enough, they were selling. Well, the color has changed a little bit between the 70s and 80s and the 2000s, but they were still selling Dietz Junior lanterns, and they were, I think, $25 a toss, somewhere around there. But yeah, they were brand new. And they were still selling old tubular lanterns, well, the Dietz Junior. So that tradition hasn't completely gone away. I don't know about now, but that was 2012, give or take, So that was, that was a while ago now, too. Oh, gosh. But anyways, yeah. This is pretty neat. Pretty neat. I like it. So, should I light it? Should I fuel it? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know how much fuel I have left. I know I need to buy some fuel. Sounds like there's some in there. Well, let's fuel it. Why not? Let's make this an official video where we light it. Because, that will be special, I think. But yeah, I wanted one that had a little bit of, age and whatnot on it. Okay, well, let me put this in there, and then I can get a little more pitch on here so I can see what goes on and what goes in. There we go. I will have to buy fuel at some point today, I think. Can't be tapped out of kerosene. That's just wrong. That would be wrong. Anyways, put the cap back on there. Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. I like it. I like it. Now, will I clean up the fountain a little bit? Yeah, I'll probably get some of that grime off of there. Just wipe it down a little bit with some WD-40, and that's about it. Yeah, it'll be nice. So let me let that soak up a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting, guys. This is kind of a special piece for me. It's nothing fancy or ultimately rare or unusual or rarely seen, but I mean, most of you guys all have one of these, I'm sure. But I never did. Since when I got into lanterns, I never did get the one I was kind of desiring. So that's kind of, I think it's special. It's funny because I do remember having a dream when I was a kid. I did. I had a dream, and it stuck with me. And you can interpret it your own way, but it was interesting because I remember being inside of a mine adit. Now, this was probably generated by my experiences of going to the mining ride at Knott's Berry Farm, which we rode often when we would go to the park. And it's probably a combination of that and Thunder Mountain Railroad at Disneyland. So we did go to several of the theme parks when we were kids. But I remember that this dream was in the adit of a mine. And I remember standing there, and it was dark, very dark. And I just saw narrow gauge tracks for an ore car that just went straight into the blackness, and down the adit. But hanging on each beam, timber in the mine was a blue Dietz Jr. like this, and they were all hanging on each piece of timber in the mine. And well, I remember that, and the thing I remember is that I wasn't scared, or I wasn't. I felt comfort just looking at the light, because I was as long as I focused on the light, I felt peace. But if I looked at the abyss, the encroaching darkness and the uncertainty of what was beyond the darkness of this mine, then it was scary. It was, I was probably only 7 years old. Crows. Come on, guys. Anyway, so, being a kid and having dreams like that, that's interesting. But I took, my takeaway from that dream was that as long as I focus on positive or things of light, which you can interpret as a righteousness or something that's positive. Light is positive. Dark is negative, then I'd be okay. And to focus on the positive. Focus on light, not darkness. Now, do I have anything against nighttime? No, I love nighttime because I get to burn these. But anyways, I thought that was an interesting dream that I've kept with me, and I've remembered since 40 years ago. And I remember waking up after that dream and thinking about it, and I knew I had to have a lantern. I had to have one of these things. And ultimately got one. I still have the very first one my father bought me from the surplus store. And it has a pickle jar in it. You probably remember that video. Anyway, this should be ready to light. So here we go, Jerry. We're gonna put a fire in its belly here. Check it out. Ooh, yeah. You know what? And it burns just like a junior. Perfect. Nice. Nice. Look at that, man. God, that takes me back to my childhood. Why does it do that? I'm looking at this thing, and it's just like, you get that nostalgia. Dang. Wow. Finally got it. Because of Jerry. Thanks, Jerry. Man. Sometimes it's the simple things, Sometimes it's just the stuff that we remember, that we have some sort of attachment to for whatever reason. And it doesn't have to be like a Dietz Victor or a Rayo 17 or a Crystal or a Side Lift or a OK or any of these cool 19th century pieces. which I love and adore, and I love all my antique lanterns, you know that. But sometimes just something like this, it does something. You know, it takes me back to a time where I was just introduced to this stuff. And I don't even know why I liked it. I just liked that warm, soft light. It was very comforting. And the blue. You know why I like the blue color? Is because I remember it reflected the blue light of dusk in the campgrounds. And the contrast of the warm light against the blue, it's just nice. It's just nice. And that's what I remember. And the smell of the kerosene burning, along with the campfire smell and the fresh air in the woods and the sounds. And I love camping. I always have since I was a kid. I've always liked camping. I don't do it enough, but it's those moments right at dusk where there's just enough light to see things, but then it's time to light the lamps, and you get that little wisp of kerosene smell and a little bit of campfire smell, and you also smell people cooking their dinners. And then you hear, the echoing of kids playing in campgrounds and people talking and having conversations and laughing and having a good time. That's what I like about camping. It's those times that makes it special. And of course, sitting up late and, talking around the campfire, playing cards or doing something like that, It's all nostalgia based. It really is. It's kind of what drives my passions is nostalgia. But anyways, there you are, friends. Nice long video. Hope you enjoyed. Tick the box. Kind of special. I know. This is a shout out to all the commons out there. Don't hate on them because they're common. Embrace them because they're simple beauties. They're rugged and classic, and they have a place in your collection, and they have a spot for sure. And this one definitely does because of its it takes me back to being a kid again. I like it. So, well, friends, hope you enjoyed this edition, this installment, and I appreciate you guys for sticking around. And I've gotten a lot of I still get good positive feedback from some of you on Facebook, and it's nice meeting some of you guys on there. And I'm glad you're finding enjoyment in the old tubular lantern collectibles, and among other things. It's the old stuff that's fun. It really is. Take it easy, guys, and we'll see you again in a week's time, or I will be doing the Pearl Harbor Day content. So stay tuned. Stick around. More stuff to come. Take care. Bye-bye. Sit, boo-boo, sit. Good dog.